What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I don't even know the words to describe what I've got on the table here. I can't tell you how big a fan I am of the Sherp. I didn't even know that they made something like this. I happened to be browsing around a couple of YouTube channels and I seen one out there and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. First off, I thought it was a completely custom vehicle and I'm like, this thing is either going to cost a fortune or be impossible to get. And I got to tell you that I am happy on both counts. It is not impossible to get, which is the first topic. And then secondly, I kind of thought it would be more expensive than it is. And it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't as expensive as I thought it was going to be. It's made by King Kong RC and it's called the Lurker, if you're not familiar with it. So I'd seen a couple of videos on it. I know people are having some issues with it, but I'll be honest with you, I don't care how many issues it would have had for me to not buy this thing. I knew that there was enough here for me to buy it, and then whatever the problems were, I would just figure it out later. But I had to have this thing. So I bought it. But in a typical fashion, like instantly, like I've had this thing for like a week, and I think I've dismantled about 80% of it. I bought this as an RTR. They sell it as a kit, and they sell it as an RTR through this company called Toucan. It was kind of a weird story because I ordered this, and it shows up in a box that has obviously been opened. So I'm like, this is not a good sign. So I bought it off of this company called Toucan RC. It says that they're in the States, but I'm not 100% sure because I could have sworn that it said New Jersey on it. It shipped out of California, and I was getting messages from somebody overseas on this thing. So I was really like confused. But I will tell you that they were super responsive. Like I was getting responses from China. And then I was getting responses from people in the States on this vehicle. So, as soon as I bought it, I was definitely in communication with the people that were selling it. So, really, really happy with that. Excellent communication. If you see it on eBay, I will tell you that I was impressed with the transaction. It was a good deal. So, I think I paid somewhere over $600 for this thing, somewhere in that $600 range. So, it came with this battery, this HRB battery. It's a 5200 11.1, so 3S. 50C, not bad. It came with this charger. And, I mean, it charges at 2,000 milliamps, which I'm not going to complain. Honestly, I've bought so many RC cars. I can't tell you, I don't even remember the last time I got an RC car that came with a battery. So, you already are a little bit ahead of the game there. And then I'm going to show you the remote. And for those of you that are old enough to know, does this not look like Rosie from the Jetsons? I mean, my wife called it out, and she's like, you know what that looks like. It's Rosie from the Jetsons. We looked up the picture, and I'm gonna put it up here, and then just kind of look at the familiarity with it. It's wild. Anyways, that's probably something that's relatively dated for a crowd that's maybe watching the show. I don't know. I tend to get a lot of 80s kids on my channel, which is fun because that's kind of where I'm at. And you guys kind of get the references most of the time. Anyway, so long story short is I get this thing to the house, and I was looking at some of the interior in here. So this is where it's going to differ. Now, I took some video of the modifications that I made to the truck because, we're RC people. We modify things. That's kind of how we roll. One of the weirdest things that came out of this truck, I'm going to show you real quick, was this was on the inside of the bed. So, like, in here, this is what was in there. It's like, I don't know, it's like pine, like cheap pine or something like that, and it's just weird that this is the way that this thing kind of came with wood. I don't remember the last time I bought an RC car and there was wood in it, so just really kind of a funny system. And then there was no battery tray. I actually 3D printed a battery tray instantly and then popped one in here just so that way there was, because you just put the battery in the bed of the RC truck and then it just kind of rolls around in the back. And I'm not complaining again. It's just weird little things about this RC car. that just kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop, man. You've got just such a cool model, and there's just some weird idiosyncrasies with it, like just the use of the wood. So I kind of went to designing immediately, and I kind of designed the whole interior for this vehicle. In fact, some of it is still printing right now. Like you notice that on the back of the Sherp, on the back of the Sherps, they usually have that cap that's on there. Well, I kind of want that. It didn't come with it. Some of the other Sherp models do come with it. So I decided to design one on 3D print. And hang on, I'll kind of give you a peek. Here, it's actually printing right now as we speak. Probably have, oh, it says only have an hour left. Well, that's cool. You might actually get to see this on the vehicle in this video. I don't even know. We'll see how it goes. But here it is. And this is the cap for the back of the Sherp. It's one of my first prototypes. I don't know how it's going to fit. A lot of the times have to do a couple of renditions to get it right, but either way, there's the first one being printed. Now, back to the Sherp. So, this doesn't have to be a whole tabletop thing. I mean, I definitely have some running video. We just came back, actually, from running the truck. But I wanted to show you a couple of the things that I kind of changed already. This was here, and there was no battery tray. And then there was this on the front, and all the electronics were kind of sandwiched within the bottom of here and in here. They had two-sided tape in there. I kind of added some Velcro because I wasn't real happy with the way that it was, just because I wanted to be able to have easier access to the electronics in this in the vehicle. So, you know, I kind of messed around with it, added a bunch of Velcro, and then decided I'm just going to get rid of all of this. So basically all of this stuff is out. And now let me just kind of show you what I've done here, because I tend to be doing things. So this kind of folds forward. It's kind of a weird setup here. And then this is the bed protector. This is actually part of the vehicle. So I'll take that out. So I designed a whole new interior. Like, these are the actual seats that were mounted onto here. There's like a little gear shift here, and then whatever that is, a little access hatch. So, you know, when I started designing it, I put a center console in, and I added the gear shift back, all 3D printed stuff, and I took the seats off of there, and I stuck them onto my setup. So this is the factory console. Here is the aftermarket one that I designed. Hang on a minute. We're going to get some... So the reason that I went to this console in the beginning is because I wanted room for the electronics. So I 3D printed all of it. I designed this whole thing, this whole section, all one piece. And I created a tub for all the electronics. And then I created a battery tray here for, obviously, for the battery. So everything kind of has a place. Here's the battery. Just kind of tucks in there like that. And then you can plug this in there. You know how that works. And then it comes with this little this bed cap back here. So that goes on there like that. And then this is the cap that I designed. Put the little gear shift on there for the scale folks out there that just like a little bit of extra detail. And then basically this locks in the top. So that locks in the top and protects the electronics, kind of gives them more space to be. And then you have this access in the back. So this is kind of the way that I set this up. And there's another reason I did this. One, you had to, in order to take this tray out to access the bottom of the truck, you had to take out a pile of screws. And if I got water in the truck or something like that, I wanted to be able to get quick access to the bottom of the truck. So I put some really strong Velcro, that's locking Velcro in, and it holds really good. So you basically have to pull hard, pop this up, and now you have access to the bottom of the vehicle, which is the way that I like things to be, because, you know, when you're driving RC cars, things are going to break. So that's the way that I have this tray in here now. It seems to be working. This was probably my second variant of this setup, but I really like the way that it's set up. The other thing is, in order to access the bottom, you actually had to disconnect all these wires, and they fed through here on the old one. So in order to get the top off of the bottom, you had to unplug all the wires. Well, I went with a little bit of a different design. I went with this notch here, so that way I can just pivot the plate and then the wires will just slip out of that notch in there, so that way I can access the bottom of the truck. So I basically made this whole pan here, basically everything in here I made so that there's quick access to the belts. If I have the tension belts, or if I have to check on the motors, or anything comes loose, I can get to it pretty quickly. Also, all my electronics are far more organized. It just seemed like a better system for the way that I would use the truck. So that is kind of the way I started this, and I try to keep the scale look a little bit. I'm not like a super scale guy, but I did design the seat, design this top with the shifter, and then like a little center console there for with the seats. So you kind of keep that scale look, because what's kind of neat is, I know people like to do this probably for scale, but what I'm going to probably do is create another cap that's just flat, and I'm going to put a GoPro mount in there, so that way when I do first person view, the GoPro will essentially sit where the seats are. And then I'll have a really neat view of the off-road journey that we take. The other thing that I really liked about the truck, which is kind of cool, and I'm going to plug it in just to get this thing fired up. 2 buttons here. It's a really neat remote, honestly. I think it's a Fly Sky, which is fine. I've had really good luck with their stuff, so not complaining about that either. The electronics that came in here are not too bad. So we're going to plug this thing in, and this is another neat feature, man. It came with working lights, and almost all of them, you know, you can kind of change all these different functions for. And then if you hold that over there, I think it puts on the, I don't know, it's got all kinds of functions. And then the other thing is I couldn't figure out why it wasn't moving. You have to start the vehicle. So you have to hold this down, and it starts up, and it's got a sound modulator in there, which I'm not going to lie to you, I was all over that. I've been sitting in here just bouncing this thing off the rev limiter like we be doing, and just having a really good time with it, man. This thing is all smiles for me. There's really like no downside to this truck right now. I know that people are breaking them, and that's fine. They're all going to break, right? What will we do? We just make them better. We go in there, we do a little design work, we figure it out, and we just improve the truck. So I'm not a stranger to doing that. It doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I definitely wish that they worked out all the kinks, but it's a really neat setup. I mean, it's got the skid steer setup. So you got your forward, which is here, and then if you want to start shifting, like, you know, right or left, it'll pivot in each direction. It swivels on its own axis, and whichever direction you're turning in, the blinker comes on too. And the other part I love is, as you increase throttle, you've got that awesome sound that goes along with it. So, all right, so this is the cap for the Sherp. I'm trying to get this thing out of here. It just got done. So let's see if I can get it off the plate. Oh boy, that is cool. I'm going to pop these supports off real quick. Supports, there we go. Get those off of there. Do a little cleanup on the edges. This is the moment of truth here. I don't know if this is going to fit, but I really hope it does. Oh my God. Oh man. Alright, hang on. Now it locks in the way I designed it. So I gotta see if I have that channel. See, it comes with this little track here. So my thoughts are is they probably sell something for it. I didn't get it, so now it locks on really good. Oh my gosh. Super excited for my first time trying to make that one. That's cool. That came out pretty good. Alright, so this honestly kind of caught myself off guard here because I didn't think it was going to work on the first try. But, man, I'll tell you, the thing locked in pretty good. It's not bad. I definitely got a little cleanup work maybe to do, but I'm digging it, man. I am digging it. That is pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. All right, so you guys got a sneak preview on something that I was working on. It wasn't really supposed to go like this. For this video, it just kind of lined up as I was working on the project and things were getting completed on the printer. So you guys got to kind of see a little behind the scenes of some of the things that I typically do with my RC vehicles. And honestly, you got to see me get caught off guard a little bit, because sometimes you don't get this close on the first attempt when 3D printing or designing things. Sometimes it takes a couple of attempts. This one got real close on the first try. So it was really like a pleasant surprise, and I just wasn't prepared for it to go that well. In fact, I didn't think any of this was going to make it into this video, but because it did come out so close to the way that I was trying to make it, I thought that I would just share it with you. So there'll be a lot more to come on this vehicle. We've had a lot of fun building this thing into what you see here and kind of making it a little more user-friendly for the way that I would use the truck. I'm not saying that this is the way that everybody would want to do it, but just this makes sense to me. Made a lot of little enhancements to the truck for the way that we use the truck, and I hope you've enjoyed this journey, just kind of seeing how we operate over here and some of the projects that we get into. So this is a little different than what I usually do, but I'll see if you guys like it. The channel is definitely evolving into more of an RC/3D channel. I do a lot of fishing content, but honestly, I think we're going to end up splitting the channel. So that way we kind of segregate it. It seems like it messes with my algorithms a lot when I do one video where we're fishing and another video when we're building RC cars and doing this type of stuff. The RC car and 3D print stuff seem to work well together, and most of the time it's almost the same thing. It is an RC vehicle that we are doing 3D printing with. We're gonna kind of see where things go. I would love to hear your comments and your feedback on both the truck and the channel. Let me know what makes sense to you guys, and we will see you on the next one.